Good afternoon. I'm so honored to be here with you this afternoon as we embark on a journey with which we are all so incredibly familiar. We're all familiar with the challenges of work and making a living, with family and keeping our loved ones close, learning to like the people that we love. We're familiar with medical challenges, God forbid, with mental health, God forbid, with all sorts of hardship and challenges, and our quest for self-development and personal fulfillment. But what we're going to be doing on this course is taking the life that we know and infusing it with light. Can you imagine groping in the darkness, trying to make things work, trying to find the answers that you so desperately seek? Someone comes in and says, well, I can tell you how to do it. Wouldn't that be helpful? You know, you're in a dark room, you're searching for the doorknob, and you're scraping yourself all over, and then somebody turned the lights on. Oh, you know where the doorknob is. Nice and easy. What this course is about, advice for life, is arguably the greatest Jewish spiritual leader of our generation, of our times, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who will be talking about these down-to-earth challenges, struggles, and problems, illuminating our eyes to be able to give us the direction we need, the answers that we seek, to be able to live lives that are more meaningful, more happy, and more fulfilled. Now, if you did the previous course with me, this is an entirely different course. You will not need your space suit for this course. We are not going outer space anymore. It's nice to challenge yourself a little bit. It's nice to raise the bar and go out of your comfort zone, but this course is well within your comfort zone. In the next 6 sessions, we'll be covering those 6 topics that I mentioned. In the first lesson, we'll be talking about work and money. Lesson 2 about family. In lesson 3, we'll be talking about how we can overcome feelings of depression, anxiety, and maintaining mental health. In the 4th class, we'll be talking about handling hardship. No, I skipped one. Lesson 3 was really about medical diagnosis and how to maintain a positive attitude through a medical diagnosis. In lesson 5, we'll be talking about handling hardships and finding purpose in our challenges. And in lesson 6, the path to self-development and personal fulfillment. All of this will be shared in the context of relatable human stories, first-hand accounts, personal encounters, and private letters that people had in their exchanges with the Rebbe. Many of these letters are still unpublished, but if you download an app called Rebbe Responsa, that's R-E-B-B-E, Rebbe Responsa. It's available on the Google Play Store as well as the App Store. You can always search the app by the date of the letter, which is cited in the textbook, to be able to see the full letter. That's Rebbe Responsa. Now, on a personal note, I'm deeply honored to be teaching this course, Advice for Life, which is the wisdom of our Rebbe to ordinary people on mundane and ordinary issues. Because the Rebbe is the one person that influenced my life more than any other person I've ever encountered. The Rebbe is my personal mentor. And here he is, a picture. My personal mentor, the leader of the Lubavitch, the Chabad Lubavitch movement, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson. He passed away in 1994. The Rebbe was born in Ukraine in 1902 in a city called Nikolaev, and he was one of the most impactful leaders of our time. He became the leader of the Chabad movement in 1950, soon after the passing of his father-in-law, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Schneerson, who was the 6th Chabad Rebbe. That's when our Rebbe became the 7th Rebbe. Chabad, and now in its 7th generation, once had hundreds of thousands of students, disciples, and followers back in Russia. But because of the Holocaust and the communists, they were decimated to the point that when the Rebbe assumed leadership of the movement in 1950, Chabad World Headquarters at 770 Eastern Parkway, of recent fame.
Yeah.
Timing is everything. The Chabad World Headquarters at that time, 770 Eastern Parkway on Brooklyn, New York, corner of Brooklyn of Eastern Parkway and Kingston Avenue, wasn't able to hold more than 100 people inside. But today, the Rebbe has transformed Chabad into a global powerhouse. Chabad is the largest Jewish organization on planet Earth, with over 6,000 centers of thriving Chabad activity wherever there are Jewish people. We're looking to open positions in Tehran and Lebanon, maybe Syria, right? Gaza, Chabad of Gaza, you heard about that one, right? You know, they were trying to open a Chabad on Mars, but they came back and they said that there wasn't a good atmosphere. So the way that the Rebbe built the movement from a handful of Hasidim, of adherents in 1950 to countless numbers of Jewish people that are devoted to the values of Chabad, the philosophy of Chabad on all sorts of levels of the spectrum, is potentially through unconditional love and care for every single Jew. The Rebbe impacted not only the scholars, but also ordinary people by building those Chabad houses and making sure that no Jew would be left behind. No other Jewish leader is known simply as the Rebbe. The Rebbe. Whenever somebody talks about the Rebbe, everybody knows who that Rebbe is. Now, the Rebbe was a brilliant Torah sage. Countless, endless hours he would spend speaking in public in front of thousands of people at 770 Eastern Parkway with the most exciting, creative insights to Jewish law, philosophy, Kabbalah, mysticism, legal ethics, moral ethics, everything. The Rebbe's knowledge throughout Jewish law was unparalleled in his times. He has over 300 volumes of published teachings, published books. Each one of them is a creative and innovative gem. Let me introduce you to the kind of people that would flock to the Rebbe from near and far. Let me just introduce by saying that this course, more than any other courses that I've given, is heavily based on multimedia. So we'll be doing a lot of videos, a lot of video presentations to be able to illustrate various points. I'm grateful to my wife's parents, my parents-in-law, Rabbi Hillel David and Sarah Krinsky, who wanted at one point when they first got married to go to Greece to open a Chabad house. And the Rebbe said to them, I don't want you to go to Greece, I want you to stay behind so that you can put together the videos. And they established all the video archive that we have of the interactions with the Rebbe. Let me introduce the Rebbe with a brief video introduction. 3 minutes.
It isn't only the Jewish community that values him, it's the worldwide community. And so many come here to receive his blessing.
Today, the Rebbe will be posthumously awarded the Congressional Gold Medal. A man who dedicated his life to helping others and to bringing people together. The Speaker of the House and I have many disagreements, but there's one thing, there is at least one thing on which we do agree. That is the awarding of this medal. This award, it brought Democrats and Republicans, liberals, conservatives, northerners and southerners, blacks, whites, and Hispanics. It brought us all together.
I remember the 70th birthday. People say that he was the new Bar Shem Tov. I rather compared him to the Maggid of Meserich. Although he never moved, he didn't travel. The Ber of Meserich was the one actually who built The Rebbe was right about it. He had vision and wisdom and knowledge and everything else, but in practical life, he was an architect. He knew whom to send where. I think the Shaliach himself didn't know why he was sent somewhere, but he knew. The Rebbe was an architect in this part, in this respect. He knew how to build.
And therefore, I have asked for the blessings of the Rabbi, of our great teacher. Rabbi Schneerson is a great man in Israel. All of us respect him. All of us accept his judgment. He is a great lover of the house of Israel. He has shown his deep sentiment and love for our children. His blessings are very important to me. I do hope they will strengthen me on that very important mission I am going to fulfill during the meetings with President Carter, the President of the United States.
A unique personality, no doubt, that serves as a leader for tremendous number of Jewish people, a person that on one hand lives in the world of the Torah, but has got practical sense to the realities of the life everywhere in the world, and great sensitivity for the preserving of the Jewish people.
That's an impressive lineup of people that are flocking to the Rebbe. And the question is why? You know, we can understand why scholars are drawn to the Rebbe's wisdom and piety, but secular world leaders, secular authors and individuals, why would they be drawn to the Rebbe? Why would you ask the Rebbe for advice on life in mundane matters? Health, relationships, career, marriage, emotional health. For this, you go to a rabbi? Wouldn't you want to go to an expert, a professional? We can understand if you go to the Rebbe for a blessing. Okay, he's giving you a blessing. That's like a miracle thing. The Rebbe was a holy man, a miracle worker. We've had many stories about that. But for advice, wouldn't you want to go to a financial planner for advice? Wouldn't you want to go to a doctor for medical guidance? Wouldn't you want to go to a therapist for emotional health? Why would you go to the rabbi? We will answer this question later, after we sample some of the Rebbe's profound wisdom, his guidance, and advice. I'd like to introduce our topic here today, which is the relationship between Judaism and financial life. What is your opinion on the Jewish view on wealth? Anybody? What do you think the Torah says about being rich?
10% charity back.
Okay, what's that got to do with being rich?
The more you get.
Okay, very nice. The more you have, the more you give.
The more you get.
The more you give, the more you get. Okay, this is nice. Good.
Not necessarily month. I just mean.
You know, is being rich like a spiritual quality? Is that like a good thing, or is it just sort of a problem to be tolerated? Like, what is the Jewish approach to wealth? What do you think, Andy?
It's potential. It's a possibility to do.
Could be good, could be bad.
Yeah.
It's like fire.
In and of itself, it's nothing. It has a potential.
Let's take a look, guys, at this question on page 4, exercise 1.1. In your estimation, page 4, what is the Jewish religious view on work and career? Is it a necessary evil that provides us with the means of serving God, like providing charity? So you have to go to work in order to make money to give charity. It's a necessary evil. Or B, is it a part and parcel of our spiritual mission and journey? Is it, like Andy said, neither intrinsically positive or negative? So long as we're honest in our business and do not allow our work and career to consume our lives to the exclusion of our spiritual life, or maybe D, something else. And what about wealth? In your estimation, what is the Jewish religious view on affluence? Does the Torah encourage you to be wealthy? Does the Torah discourage you from being wealthy, or it depends? What do you think?
Encourage you to be wealthy.
Torah wants you to be wealthy?
Absolutely.
Are you saying that because you think, or because?
I believe it.
Okay, but the Torah, what does the Torah say? Does the Torah want you to be wealthy?
Our patriarchs.
All our patriarchs are wealthy, they were shepherds. I don't know how to measure wealth in terms of cows, but yeah. I'm talking about US dollars right now. I'm talking about US dollars. What does the Torah say about having a lot of money? Now, somebody once said to me, I'm no expert in Christianity, but somebody once said to me that in the Christian belief, a rich man is a sinner. Anybody heard of this before?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Money is the root of all evil.
Money is the root of all evil. That's from Fiddler on the Roof.
There you go.
Money is the root of all evil. Is this true? Now, let's take a look. The Torah does seem to have a problem with wealth. Let's be clear. The Torah does seem to have a problem with wealth. Text 1a, please, page 5. This is straight from the book of Deuteronomy. It's the 5th book of the Bible. It says like this. Jeshurun, which is Israel, grew fat and kicked, which means Israel grew wealthy and rebelled. You grew fat, thick, and rotund. Israel forsook the God who made them and spurned the rock of their salvation. This is a rebuke in the Torah. It says you got too much money, you became way too comfortable, and now you're not spiritually sensitive. In the book of Proverbs, text 1b from King Solomon, a poor person speaks with supplications, a rich person replies with chutzpah, with impudence. Thinks he's got his money to throw around, right? So this is not very flattering to the rich people, right? It seems like the Torah is condescending towards wealth. Elsewhere in the writings of King Solomon, in the book of Ecclesiastes, in chapter 30, verse 8, King Solomon says, "Give me neither poverty nor wealth, provide me with my allotted bread." If anybody ever heard of the Musar approach, you ever heard of Musar?
Yes.
The Musar approach to life is the non-Hasidic approach to life. It's like an Orthodox Jewish approach to life, which is non-Hasidic, and they speak about the virtue of an attribute called histapkut. Histapkut means being comfortable with what you have. Stop searching for what you don't have. Don't look over the fence. The grass isn't green on the other side. You should be comfortable with what you have. Make peace with who you are and move on. It's a lofty spiritual ideal. And this is why, friends, the Rebbe's approach to wealth is so incredibly surprising. Because the Rebbe felt that being rich was a very important element of our Jewish experience. See? In 1958, the Rebbe paid a shiva call to Rabbi Abraham Joshua Herschel, the Rebbe of the Kopishnitzer Hasidim. During that meeting at the shiva, they discussed the needs for funding the yeshivas, the schools, the Torah education schools. Let's take a look at that interesting conversation where the Rebbe made it very, very clear how important it is for Jews to be wealthy. Take a look. Text number 2, page number 6. This is a transcript of that meeting. The Rebbe said, Jewish individuals need to secure financial security. And this is an important, positive, and appropriate goal in and of itself, regardless of the additional imperative, Shelley, to fund Torah institutions in specific locations. Which means, regardless of the mitzvah of charity, the Jews should be wealthy in and of itself. Financial success enables Jews to live comfortably and extensively. And that will also enable them to broaden their perspectives. For our sages taught that there are 3 things that expand a person's mind. One of them is a beautiful wife. Another one is a beautiful dishes and furniture. And another one is a beautiful home expands one's mind. And they meant this in the most literal sense. And the Rebbe concluded to this guy, to the shiva call, he said, if only all Jewish people would be wealthy. Now, the Kopishnitzer Rebbe wasn't very ready for this. So he said, Rebbe, he said, wealth is a challenge. I'm afraid of the test of wealth. I fear the test that it poses. You know what the test of wealth is? You become wealthy, you might become spiritually insensitive. You might say, I don't need a rabbi. I don't need to go to shul. I don't need a relationship with God because, have you seen the size of my 401k? Right? Have you seen the kind of car that I drive? I don't need a God. There's a test over there. This is the question, the protest that the Kopishnitzer Rebbe presented to the Rebbe at this shivakol. The Rebbe didn't take that sitting down. He said, poverty is equally a challenge. It's also a test to be poor, right? Because what happens if you're poor? If you're very poor, what happens? You know, who knows what you're gonna do in order to earn your next meal, right? Maybe you'll turn your back on God as well because you have no other options, right? So if you got a choice between the test of poverty and the test of wealth, which one would you choose? The Rebbe makes it very clear. If there must be a challenge, the test of wealth is preferable over that of poverty. And God will certainly help us successfully withstand the challenge. This is what the Rebbe is saying. He's saying, you know what? You're going to be tested either way, right? You're going to be tested either way. I'd rather be tested in the test of wealth than be tested in the test of poverty. Now, later on, the conversation went elsewhere, but the Rebbe made sure to circle back, to bring it back, and he insisted that the Kopishnitzer Rebbe agree with him that all Jews should be wealthy, which the Kopishnitzer Rebbe wholeheartedly did. It seems like there was something spiritual going on, that the Rebbe needed the other guy to agree with this message as if there was some sort of a heavenly tribunal going on way beyond my pay grade. Yes, wealth is a test, but the Rebbe believed that this is a test that we can handle. You know, the Talmud says, have you ever met a rabbi that honors the wealthy people? God forbid, right? You know, the Talmud says that Rebbe was the author of the Mishnah 2,000 years ago. Rabbi Yehuda the Prince. Rabbi Yehuda the Prince would honor the rich. That's what the Talmud says in Eruvin, Talmud Eruvin 86a. It says that Rebbe would honor, himself was a very wealthy man, but he would honor the wealthy. And the Rebbe commented on this. How shameless that a rabbi would honor the wealthy? Huh. And the Rebbe explained that to be rich is a test of faith. It's a test of faith, what you're going to do with the money. And if God shows that this person is worthy of being tested, if God believes in you, then I believe in you too. And that's why the Rebbe explained that Rebbe would honor the wealthy because God chose the wealthy as well. This is the Rebbe's prosperity doctrine. Don't be afraid of wealth. Don't be afraid of affluence. Yes, it comes with its challenges. You might become insensitive. You might become a little avarice, maybe a little gluttony. But I believe in you, the Rebbe said, that you can use the wealth in the right way. You've got to see this next video, guys. This next video presentation is unbelievable. It was a Purim celebration in 1955 in 770 Eastern Parkway. 5 years into the Rebbe's leadership. And the Rebbe was clearly in an elevated state of mind. The Rebbe basically said, anybody who wants to be rich, anybody who's willing to endure the test of being wealthy, raise your right hand. Take a look at what happened.
We'll start with Purim 1955, when the Rebbe spoke about the test of wealth, and then made an incredible offer.
Der Nizoin von Aschiris ist ein sehr schwerer Nizoin, von deswegen allweil alle Jiden gesagt geworden, sollen alle werden gewinnen. In Amerika ist minig, jede Sache stellt nach Wut als Abstimmung. Die was eine Maske im Mund nehmen als hier, der Rebbe soll sie geben, Aschire ist der Flogge. Und sie hat nicht der Haravani, was sie und der darf Milchome haben. Mit dem Jezer Horror soll sie nicht Machschel sein, soll nur heben der rechte Hand, believe of Scholem.
We were sitting by a Farbrengen, and the Rebbe said that anyone who wants to become wealthy, raise your hands. Now, Who has the audacity that I should ask the Rebbe about Gashmias? The Rebbe is for Ruchnistik, so most of the people wouldn't have the audacity to raise their hand.
Danach kommt zurück und sagt, was ich das nicht habe, das nicht habe. Dann wir da nicht raten, wir damals praveten Chabadskishtich,
Reb Shmuel Isaac Popak was said to have raised his hand, a fact that he would never confirm or deny, although he always told the story.
6 or 7 people raised their hands, and they all became millionaires. Subsequently, I asked the Rebbe for a broche. I had no parnosa at all, and the Rebbe told me I should go into real estate, which I did. And I told the Rebbe I had no money. The Rebbe says, you don't need money to go into real estate. So through certain maneuvering, we were able to buy 2 houses without any cash. That started us off in the real estate business, and thank God we make a living.
This guy, Rabbi Popak, the story goes about him that he always drives a very old, like a jalopy, is that how you said it?
Yeah.
Jalopy. But all of his kids, they drive fancy cars. So somebody once asked him, why is it? You're a wealthy man. You can afford to drive something a little nicer. Your kids are all driving fancy cars. They have a rich father. How's that for a sermon, hey? Woo. A Farbrang and a Purim party like no other, right? Why would the Rebbe have taken this approach? Why? Why would the Rebbe have taken this position that wealth is a Jewish ideal? For what reason? How do we understand this? In order to appreciate the Rebbe's approach to money and the Rebbe's advice for life, make a lot of money, we have to go back a little bit and understand the Rebbe's approach to work in general. You see, for most people, work is a necessary evil. Motivated by need. It's something that you got to do in order to keep things together. But for the Rebbe, work is not just a means towards an end. Work itself has inherent value and purpose. You see, one of the most foundational ideas of Chabad philosophy, remember, Chabad is not a movement. Chabad is not a denomination of Judaism. Chabad is a philosophy. It's Jewish mysticism. It's the access to the secrets of Torah, to the secrets of the universe, the secrets of creation. Chabad philosophy teaches us that the reason why God created this world in the very first place is because God desired a home in this world which is so spiritually dark. For God to be recognized as king, heaven, no big deal. But for God to be recognized as the master of the universe in this dysfunctional world, now that's a big deal. And that's the reason why God created us. In order to use our minds and our hearts, our hands and our feet, to turn this dark, spiritually dark world into a place where God is warmly welcomed, acknowledged, and appreciated. We accomplish this not by escaping from this world, but by engaging with this world. And that's why you'll notice that other religions might walk away from a physical experience. For example, maybe the priests remain celibate. Maybe the Muslims avoid any alcohol. Again, I'm no expert on other religions, but so I hear. But the Jews and alcohol, hand in hand, right? I've said the story before of the mayor who came to the rabbi's house, wanted to experience Shabbos in the rabbi's house. I'll say it in brief. The mayor comes to the rabbi's house, and he's not Jewish, he wants to spend Shabbos with the rabbi. Friday afternoon, they come, they have a l'chaim before Shabbos. Then they go to the shul, they make kiddush overflowing with wine. They come back home, the rabbi makes kiddush overflowing with wine throughout the meal. They have l'chaim. After the meal, they grace after meals overflowing with wine. The same thing the next morning at the Kiddush lunch, at the shul, Kiddush back at home. That it's overflowing with wine. You never had so much wine. At the end of the Shabbos, they have Havdalah service, again, overflowing with wine. And the mayor says to the rabbi, I had such a lovely time. It was wonderful here spending Shabbat with you. I still don't understand why you guys can't flick the light switch in Shabbos, but I totally get it why you don't drive on Shabbos. You know, as Jews, we've been accused of being a mundane religion. We've been accused of being a very physical religion. You know, the first mitzvah in the Torah is to get married and have kids. Think about that, right? A high priest in the Holy Temple whose wife died was disqualified from the service in the Holy Temple. There was a reserve high priest in case the regular high priest didn't have a wife during the time of the service in the Yom Kippur in the temple. You got to be married. You got to be down engaged in this world. And the reason is not because Judaism is a non-spiritual religion, but because our purpose is not to escape this physical world. Our purpose is to engage this physical world and infuse it with divine consciousness, with higher awareness through our thoughts, our speech, and our action. Proof in point. And obviously we do this through the workplace. At work, the purpose of our work is not a means to an end. We don't work in order to make enough money, in order to survive, in order to experience our spiritual life at the end of the day for weeknights or weekends. But the very act of going to work is in and of itself a spiritual experience, where we're infusing holiness and consciousness and divine awareness into the workplace itself. Why else would God create us in a way that the majority of our time and effort is spent on spiritual pursuits? If we were created to be the chosen people, wouldn't it be more appropriate for us to be spending all of our time doing holy things? Why would the chosen people be spending all their time working? That's like a waste of effort, like bad planning. 6 days a week you shall work, says the Torah, and on the seventh day you shall rest. 6 years you shall plow the land, and on the seventh year, the sabbatical year, the Shemitah year, that's when the field shall rest. And the reason is because our work, our livelihood, is not a distraction from our spiritual purpose and mission. Our work is actually our assignment to infuse holiness in the boardroom, not just in the pulpit. Let's see this idea in the words of the Rebbe, text number 3, page 8. The Torah's perspective on Jewish life is puzzling. It informs us that God chose us from the rest of humanity and spiritually elevated us from regular people. That creates the impression that we must spend the majority of our time in sacred pursuits, studying Torah, performing mitzvahs, and worshiping in the tabernacle, and later in the Jerusalem temple. Why then does the Torah itself establish that the majority of a Jewish individual's life be devoted to material pursuits in which there is no distinction between a Jew and anyone else? The explanation is that the purpose for which God created the world is that God desired that we actively turn this material world with all of its corporeality and material coarseness into a home for God himself through serving God in this world in accordance with the Torah that he gave us. We're not trying to run away from this world. We're going down, we're engaging this world. To achieve that, the majority and the main thrust of our daily service of God is not strictly spiritual activities. After all, our spiritual activities are comparable to the divine service performed by the souls before they enter this world and after they return to heaven. If you want to be spiritual, you don't need to be in this world to be spiritual. Rather, we spend most of our time specifically on interaction with materiality. Therefore, the Torah emphasizes, for 6 years you shall sow your field. The idea is to bring sanctity and divinity down into our fields, the coarse realm of materiality, so as to turn our material and corporeal world into a home for God. Friends, clearly our role is not to stay cloistered from this world in the shul or in the yeshiva, praying all day or studying Torah all day long. We have to reveal God in this world in places where he is hidden, and that's in this physical world. The goal is to be a Torah Jew in the workplace. The workplace is the ultimate frontier to make this happen. So in summary, what we've learned so far is that the spiritual meaning of the workplace is that it brings holiness and Torah values into the workplace. That is the ultimate purpose of creation. Our role is to infuse our spiritual service. Our mission, our assignment is to infuse holiness into the darkness. Going to work is not a distraction from our divine mission. It is our divine mission. Now, in addition to infusing holiness at work, in the workplace, we also have the added advantage of being able to influence other people at the workplace. See, at the workplace, you meet people that otherwise would never have given you a second glance. Let's take a look at this beautiful story. Text number 4, page 10. My grandfather, this would be the Rebbe's, the fourth Rebbe of Chabad, Rabbi Shmuel of Lubavitcher, the fourth Rebbe, had a close follower named Elia Abeler, who in terms of scholarship and aptitude was a simple fellow. In one of Elia's private audiences with the Rebbe Marash, he was told, the Rebbe said to him, Elia, I envy you. Can you imagine? The Rebbe says to a regular businessman, I envy you. Why do I envy you? Because you travel to various fairs where you meet many people. In the middle of a business transaction, you get into a spirited discussion over a Torah insight, something inspirational. You recall from the Ein Yaakov class, maybe the rabbi's sermon, there it tells stories and ethical teachings from the Talmud. When you do that, said the Rebbe to the businessman, you arouse the other person's interest in studying Torah. This activity, said the Rebbe, causes much joy and high. God rewards such trade with the blessings of children, health, and sustenance. The larger the fair, the more work there is, and the greater is the livelihood earned. Let's take a look at a modern day story of a modern day businessman who had a dream job at IBM, and take a look at his interaction with the Rebbe when he thought the Rebbe wanted him to leave the company.
I just started a new job in IBM, and Hey Tavis comes along, and the Rebbe says on that day that everybody should be like a shliach. I didn't know what did the Rebbe mean, everybody should be a shliach. Maybe he means that I gotta quit my job and like stop becoming a campus shliach or something like that. I wrote into the Rebbe, should I give up my job for IBM? What is it that the Rebbe wants? And the Rebbe like underlines it on the answer, and with a big, just one word answer, Lama. Why do you have to give up your job in IBM? I want you to stay in those things and be my shliach.
Madische mitzad de Geber kinono, als wo kommt und was einmal mit dem Masse kommt, soll dorten Schmäh von dem Meibischten, soll dorten machen, dass in der Leben also seinlich Schake, bis wir Schachanti beseichern, ordentlich, in seine eigene Dalle Dame ist und danach gleich, al besser mit Bachuz.
And that was what I ended up doing. I stayed in IBM. I had a very, very matzliachtik career.
So if you would give a warm round of applause for Mr. Moshe Rappaport from IBM.
But I felt all the time that I was doing shlichus. In other words, I would make speeches all over the world. Your desktop or on your wall, or you're going to be wearing and so on, that are AI driven. But the real, all through my career, I would write to the Rebbe what was going on, what I was doing. Be secure. How are we going to manage the access control? Top people, CEOs, politicians, famous journalists from all over the world came to find out what IBM was doing in research. And I get to meet all these people with my yarmulke, with my beard, and so on and so forth. And Jewish people came over to me. And I was actually a shliach in that sense.
Auf
Christians center in Hong Kong should be completely soon.
You certainly know that now Hong Kong is a visiting place for many Jews from several countries. And then you can influence that during their visit in Hong Kong, when they are returning to their homes, they will bring with them additional Yerushalayim. And that will be your business also.
אני במקצועי נייבל ארכיטקט, יש לי מפעל בארץ גדול, ובזכות ברכתו מלפני שנתיים במכתב שכבודו כתב לי, שקיבלתי ממנו, קיבלנו עבודה גדולה מאוד, $2 מיליון, בצבא ארצות הברית, חודש אחרי המכתב. חודש אחרי קבלת המכתב קיבלנו את העבודה הכי גדולה בחיינו מהצבא האמריקאי.
ואיזו התחלה גדולה, ובאמת יש בכך יכול לעשות כפליים.
אני מקווה, אני משתדל, והרבה עובדים שלי שלא היו יראי שמיים, כשזה קרה, חזרו בתשובה. וזה הודות לכבוד הרב.
עדיין הולך להוסיף עוד יותר בירושלים שלו, כאילו שלבחור יילו ויעשו כליך על כל פנים החצי עמו.
The major exhibition that we exhibited at was in Brussels. It was a major upholstery fabric international exhibition. Part of our display was knowing that if a Jew came in there, he knew he would get caught in me asking him if he could put on film. The exhibition is going to be Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Rosh Hashanah was coming up Monday night. To come in for one half a day on Monday exhibition, it's a little bit crazy. On the other hand, I knew the Rebbe wanted we should always be at the exhibition, so we're going. Rabbi Chadakov let me know that the Rebbe suggested that we put up a sign at the beginning of the show that due to the Sabbath, we're going to be closed at Friday 2:30. So the customers, they'll know in the beginning of the show they should come into you right away. At about 1:30, suddenly I see a gentleman walking up and down past our stand where there's thousands of people walking. But I see he keeps looking at the sign and he's asking, tell me, what is this closing the Sabbath? It's an international exhibition. What's this closing Rosh Hashanah? I said, where are you from, sir? He says, ich bin a Polische. So I started dealing with a Jew. I said, how about putting on film? He looks at me like I went crazy. He said, film? Who believes in all of this? I don't believe in God. I don't believe in anything. He says, ich bin durchgegangen Hitler. I went through Hitler. I never put on film, he says. I said, my friend, I understand you 100%. Once in your lifetime, you didn't have a bar mitzvah, you said. You'll be able to say, you're right, God wasn't right to you, and you had a bar mitzvah. He took off his jacket, and we put him on film. The minute he said Shema Yisrael, he broke down and started crying. He says, ich kenn nicht. He was holding us out, ich kenn nicht. And he sat down, and he didn't know what to do, how to thank us. You can imagine how we felt. Business, we didn't do that much, but we knew what we came for, and we knew we were going to have a good year.
It's not just that you can influence others while at work. This is actually the very reason why you have your career in the first place. Could it be that the reason why Mayor Zeiler needed to be in Brussels at that expo was in order to help that Jew whose parents were killed by Hitler before his bar mitzvah, to the point that he never had a bar mitzvah? It was all connected. When Rabbi Ben Zion Shem Tov wrote a letter to the previous Rebbe about Reb Aaron Zucker, who had started a Tanya class in Morocco during a business trip, he thought that the previous Rebbe would be pleased of how he used his extracurricular time. The Rebbe responded and he said, you should know that the primary reason that his soul was directed to that place, to Morocco, was to orchestrate the Torah class. Only that it played itself out in the guise of business. So friends, in closing to this point, we're learning that in addition that the spirituality of the workplace in the Rebbe's teaching, the Rebbe's advice for life, is that the workplace is not just a means to an end. It's not a necessary evil. It's about fulfilling our purpose in creation by bringing holiness to the spiritual darkness of this world. And in addition to that, it affords us unique opportunities to inspire others to be better people and to be better Jews. And now that we've understood the reason for the spiritual reason for work, we can now finally understand why it's so important for us to be wealthy. You know, most people work until they have what they need. And then they retire. But Chassidus teaches us that there is so much more to our resources, to our wealth, to our affluence than having what we need. And the reason is because our spiritual and our material lives are intertwined. You aren't more Jewish in shul than you are Jewish in the office. Our work is also part of our divine service. The reason why we work is because we want to emulate God. This is what Chassidus teaches us. We work because we need to emulate God. We're created in the image of God, and we're called upon to be like God. And just like God gives, like Shelley said in the beginning, just like God gives, we need to also be able to give. And in order to be able to keep on giving, you need to be able to keep on working. If you're going to be alive, you're going to be like God. And God is a giver. So to be able to be a giver, you've got to be a worker. You've got to be generating. Let's take a look at this in the words of the Alter Rebbe in Tanya, page 12, text number 5. The verse, quoting a verse from the book of Samuel, who is like a people? Israel. One nation on earth. One nation on earth. Text number 5, page 12. So the Alter Rebbe focuses on the interesting one nation on earth. The implication is that even while they engage in earthly matters, they do not separate themselves from the true one. To be a Jew means to be able to recognize oneness, not only in the presence of God, not only in your spirituality, but even in your physical experiences. It is therefore appropriate that we do not perform all of our mundane engagements for material ends, but rather in order to bring sustenance to other souls, pieces of godliness, and to supply them with what they lack out of gratuitous kindness towards them. We engage in material experiences in order to make spiritual impact. In doing so, we resemble our Creator, the one God. For God performs free kindnesses at all times. God is a giver, and his kindness is true not for recompense, in that he animates the universe and all its contents every single moment. What this means is, friends, is that God is a giver. And if we're going to be like God, then we need to be a giver too. And if you have nothing, if you got bupkis, if you got garnish, you can't be a giver. So that's why you need to be able to have a lot in order to be able to have maximum impact. The more money, the more of your divine mission is being fulfilled. In 1959, in the new village of Kfar Chabad in Israel, near the airport, the village of Chabad, there was a turkey farmer by the name of Yechezkel Springer. He was growing his turkey farm. By the time he hit 1970, he had the opportunity to expand this turkey farm. Now, if you've ever been to Kfar Chabad, it's a little village. I spent 3 years over there, very far removed from the pressures of the real world. You could just pray all day, study Torah all day, very spiritual, meditational experience. You know which way the wind is blowing, depending on if you smell the cows or the chickens. Right. So he in 1970, Yechezkel Springer had the opportunity to expand his turkey farm, but he was conflicted. On the one hand, if he expanded, he'd have more money, more success. On the flip side, if he had more money and more success, he'd have less time to study Torah. What should he do? Turn to the Rebbe. The Rebbe's response is so beautiful. Take a look, page 13, text number 6. You question whether it is appropriate for you to desire to further expand your income. Is it appropriate to seek more money? That question has already been answered. 10% of one's earnings must be given to charity. And ideally, for those who wish to step beyond the basic requirement and enhance their observance, 20%. In fact, Rabbi Shir Zalman of Liadi explains that it is appropriate to give even more than 20%. This is especially relevant now that the institutions that require our charitable support require expansion, and therefore their financial needs are constantly growing as well. Consequently, additional charity is required, and that demands greater income. The Rebbe said, listen, wealth is needed for tzedakah. Wealth is needed in and of itself, not only in order to give, but also as a reflection of spiritual bounty. The more money that we have, the more impact that we're able to have on this physical world around us. Remember, the purpose of work was in order to infuse in the spiritually dark place a presence of God. What happens when you take money that you put your heart and soul into and you give it to tzedakah? What happens if you invest that money into your grandchild's Jewish education? What happens if you invest that money into kosher meat, or you invest that into making a difference in Israel, helping soldiers lay tefillin and embrace their identity as Jewish people? What you've done is that you've taken a very spiritually dark place, the selfishness, the ego, the narcissism of money, and you've infused it with divine consciousness and divine awareness. This is actually a very spiritual goal. Take a look at what the owner of Tafudi, Mr. Mintz, David Mintz, the owner of Tafudi, what the Rebbe told him when he wanted to sell his company.
Ja, also von euch Seite, sie drücken wir. Wir hatten einen Sohn, also so verkaufen. Was verkaufen die Retail Stores, so ein ganzes Geschäft? Das ganze Geschäft, ja. Weil es ist erst, der Umstände sind nicht so geht. Und die Sache ist so, sie sagen, die Company, die Menschen mit euch Seite sagen, dass sie können wachsen, ob andere Menschen kommen rein mit der Sache, ihr Geld. Was da eine gute Sache, was darf ich auch gerne andere? Nicht, aber so bist du Rebbe ist also... Nein, mit dem manchen ist eben, kommt selbst aktiv verkaufen. Aber eben mit dem Geld, was sie bekommen, wird sie das investieren in mein Geschäft. Aber mit dem sein weiter aktiv mit dem Geschäft, dass der so geben solche, so geben als Hausdocke. Und wie ist das hier gegeben? Was so gegeben, wenn ich nicht hier sondern so der Rebbe halt also verhalten eine Arbeit nach dem. Ja, aber die Sessenteil muss als manche sein. Sie will Papier verkaufen. Macht mit Tees, aber mit Atmaya, sie so tegen die das, was sie bleiben bei, so die das verstärken und verbrechen.
Don't sell business. Keep on working. Make money, because every single time that you use your money for a mitzvah, any mitzvah, you're making a spiritual impact on this very physical world, on the financial part of this world, which is the belly of the beast. You're fulfilling your divine purpose. Why would you want to stop? And that's why, in summary, I would say that when it comes to the spirituality of our work and the reason why we work, in addition to infusing holiness into our workplace, and in addition to sharing that holiness with other people that we meet at work, the greater our earnings, the more we can give toward charitable causes and for holy purposes. So with this being said, what do you think is the Jewish approach to retirement? What do you think is the Jewish approach to retirement? Some shy smiles. Interesting, right? You know, in America, what?
Keep working.
It seems like you keep working. In America, what was that? I like that. You might have retired from your day job. I don't think you've ever been so busy as much as you are when you've been retired, right? Because you're focusing your efforts on amazing. You're not sitting vegetating, right? You're making sure to make an impact on people's lives in the most incredibly meaningful way, and that's so beautiful. You know, in America today, 2021, the average retirement age, anybody know? For men, 65. For women, it's 62. Many people plan their entire lives around their retirement. They're looking forward to their retirement to finally enjoy life. You'd think that the Torah would embrace retirement to say, enough with the headaches. You don't have to worry about all the mishigas, the chazarai. You don't have to worry about Wall Street. You don't have to worry about Main Street. You could just pray and study Torah all day. Oh no, the Rebbe was vehemently opposed to it. Why do you think the Rebbe was opposed to retirement? Because of exactly this reason. Your work is not your headache. Your work is your assignment. You don't really have the right to walk away from it. That doesn't mean that you have to be selling, working the counter at 7-Eleven for the rest of your life until you turn 99 years old. It means that wherever you are in life, don't think that you've graduated from contributing to society. You might have retired from your law firm, your dental practice, or your podiatry, but you can still be a constructive member of society. You know, today you don't even need to have a job anymore. You can be in real estate, right? You could be cash advances, the newest thing these days, right? You could be in the stock market. You could be making money without even lifting a finger from the beach, right? You could be making a difference. Make sure that you understand the purpose of work and to be able to infuse the direction of your efforts into holiness to be able to fulfill your mission. Take a look at what the Rebbe said to people that wanted to retire.
Das wir lernen. Okay, das haben wir muss. Ja. Ich will gerade so beten, vergessen von meiner Freundin. Ja, ich soll sagen, wenn die gesund sind, gesunde Kinder und wenn gesunde Psyche ist, dann macht man schon viel besser. Ja, aber deswegen die Zeit. Das mir nie war, wie ich sage. Dann geht es gleich gesund, Since what we do to have this you can be up in our work. The retirement is only good for old people, or young person. But 220, how much more you need? 220, you have 45 years. It will be good to the first thing for you and Geschäften that you can certainly continue it, not have to think even about retiring. You must gain much more money to give much more tzedakah, and to do so in good mood and good health together with your family.
And things are moving along well, and I'm not going to retire.
Yeah, thank you. Forget about it.
That's for eye-opening. You know, here in America, they tell us, you're a certain age, you're over the hill. You're yesterday's laundry. But the Torah is telling us, people don't retire because they get old. They get old because they retire.
Yep.
Very true. And the Rebbe led by example. In 1972, when the Rebbe turned 70 years old, he was asked about his retirement plans. And he said, retirement? I am going to ask my disciples, my students, my followers for a birthday present of 71 new Chabad houses opened this year in honor of my 71st year of life. I think it took 30 days before they opened up 71 new Chabad houses around the world. Why was the Rebbe so opposed to retirement? What's the big deal? What's wrong with retirement? But now that we understand that your work is your spiritual assignment, We can see retirement as abandoning your post. You got to use your platform as long as you possibly can. Wealth isn't just about personal comfort. Wealth is part of your mission. And if that's the case, then what rights do you have to retire? It would be akin to aborting your mission. Now, again, this doesn't mean that if you've already retired from your job, you've done something wrong, God forbid. What it means is it's the mindset of saying that I'm no longer relevant to society. That's the problem. It's the mindset that says that I can't any longer have a meaningful impact upon society. I can't make any more money. I can't make any more of a difference. No. So Michael here was retired from his QVC television jewelry business. I spent all week long here. He's building outside of here. He's expanding the social hall of the shul. It's amazing. We're so grateful. This is a person that's making an unbelievable impact. Not only to the people immediately here, but to thousands of people in the wider vicinity. Thank you. This is a beautiful example that you don't need to see yourself as over the hill, as old, as no longer relevant. On the contrary, we can make a very, very profound difference. So let's talk a little bit about spiritual secrets to material success. Now that we understand what work is all about, why it's important to make money, we're starting to see a pattern here where we see the Rebbe's unified approach to life, where physical and spiritual are not in conflict with each other. Our real lives and our spiritual lives are not two separate lanes on the highway. They're actually in perfect harmony with each other. They're never in conflict. Our physical work is a manifestation of our spiritual purpose. You know, when we say Shema Yisrael, which is the ultimate declaration of our faith, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. What does that mean? Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God. The Lord is one. Let me share with you a meditation. What does it mean the Lord is one? God is one. The word Echad in Hebrew is made up of 3 letters. Each letter in Hebrew is a number. Aleph, Chet, Dalet is 184. The word one in Hebrew is 184. When we say Hashem Echad, God is one, that's what you're supposed to be meditating on. That God is one, the first letter is number 1, where in the 8. 8 is the 7 heavens and this physical earth. And 4 is the 4 directions, north, south, east, and west. The meditation of Shema Yisrael, Hashem Echad, that God is one, is the awareness that God is God, not only in the synagogue, but even in the medical office, even in the cancer center, in Wall Street, and even in the halls of the United Nations and the International Criminal Court. That God is one everywhere. There is no power outside of God. And hence, our financial work manifests our spiritual mission. But on the flip side, our spiritual efforts power our material success. We'll explore 4 ways in which the Rebbe guided people to experience secrets to material success, secrets to financial success. 4 practical directives that the Rebbe gave to people in order to experience financial prosperity through spiritual infusion. Because it's the Echad doctrine, the oneness doctrine, that your physical and your spiritual is not 2 separate parts of your life. It's one and the same. It's perfectly in harmony. The first of the 4 is a mindset. Your mindset is critical. You see, have you ever experienced anxiety over money? You have? How about fear over your financial situation? If you've experienced that, friends, I hate to say it, but that is idolatry. It's modern day idolatry. To have fear means that you don't believe that God is in control. What you believe is that your boss is in control, your client is in control, the International Monetary Fund, the Federal Reserve, the stock market, somebody else is in control. This God is great, good. Yeah, but when it comes to real life, when it comes to my bank account, that's where I'm worried about what's going to happen with interest rates. That fear is idolatrous. A mindset of peace, of calm, of serenity, of tranquility is the Echad doctrine, is the oneness doctrine that reminds you that God is in control everywhere without exception. You know, the Kotzker Rebbe was once asked, where is God? And his amazing answer, wherever you let him in. God is wherever you let him in. You see, as long as you have a mindset of fear, you're actively repelling God from your life. If you're experiencing financial insecurity and anxiety, what you're doing is that you're disinviting God from your bank account. Why would you want to do that? But by making the choice to be calm, peaceful, and serene, to have trust in God, what you're doing is that you're exhibiting faith in God in the bank account, and hence inviting God into your bank account. Let's take a look at that in Words of the Rebbe, page 16, text number 7. I received your letter in which you write about your anxiety in regards to your money, your livelihood, your parnasa. You surely know how often our sages have impressed on us the importance of trust and confidence in God in order that we realize that all difficulties encountered in life are only trials and tests of a passing nature. God is testing you. To be sure, the question of making a living is one of the most difficult tests. Nevertheless, God does not subject one to a greater test than he can handle. As our rabbis have expressed, according to the camel, so is the load. The very trust in God is the vessel and channel to receive God's blessing. If you choose to be calm and fearless, trusting in God, that is the vessel to draw God's blessing upon you. Apart from the fact that such confidence is good for one's health and disposition, and therefore is also a natural means to the desired end. The point is that the first of the 4 practical implications of advice, the 4 practical directives of advice to experience secrets to financial success, is your mindset, to realize that life is a test. We don't get more than we can handle, and your serenity is the key to your prosperity. That's a pretty big idea. We'll be expanding more on that in lesson 4, so we'll expand on it. A second directive that the Rebbe gave people to fuse their spiritual and their physical is a very, very difficult mitzvah of keeping Shabbos. It's no secret that it's not easy to close down your business on Shabbos, especially when money is tight. But the Rebbe insisted that we take the plunge and shut down the business 100%. This is something that we can only appreciate with the oneness doctrine. When we realize that our physical and our spiritual are one and the same in harmony, we realize that it's our devotion to our spiritual values that benefits our material success. How does this work? What's the mechanism of this blessing? Closing your store on Shabbos, closing down your business on Shabbos is a sacrifice. And that's exactly the point. It's the ultimate expression of that mindset we just spoke about before. The mindset of trusting in God. You say, well, God said 6 days a week you should work, and on the 7th day you shall rest. Shutting down your store on Shabbos, closing your business, is the ultimate expression of your conviction in God. Where is God? Wherever you let him in, you shut down that business on Shabbos. What you're doing is that you're exhibiting the ultimate manifestation of that beautiful conviction in God. Let's take a look in the Rebbe's words, text number 8, page 17. It is clear to the unbiased mind and even to the plain common sense that the Almighty, who is the giver of the Torah and mitzvahs, is also the creator and the master of the world, whose benevolent providence extends to everyone individually. It is also equally obvious that no lasting good can come from breaking God's laws. Think about it. If God is the CEO and you're breaking his rules, it's probably not going to end well. Especially such a fundamental law as Shabbos observance. For the important thing is not how much money a person earns, but that he should be able to spend that money in good health and on happy things, which is entirely in the hands of God. So you made a lot of money, mazel tov. But now you get that crazy assessment from the country club that wants to build $50 million expansion, right? What good is that going to do for you, right? You get that dental bill. He says the dentist needs you to see him for another $14,000. What did that do for you, right? In view of the above, it is quite clear what your attitude of the businessman in question should be. Even if there were no other immediate business proposition, for it is necessary without delay to give up the kind of business that interferes with Shabbos observance with the full confidence that he who feeds and sustains 3 billion people, I think today it's more like 8 billion, right? And all living things will also be able to take care of the individual and his family and provide him with a source of livelihood which should not be in conflict with the will of God. Means what the Rebbe is saying here is that God is almighty, God is in charge. You don't want to mess with the boss. Why would you want to violate the will of the boss? Because keeping Shabbos channels God's blessings in two ways. Inside of the business, it allows you to prosper. And outside of the business, it allows you to spend the earnings that you've earned on things that are good. Let's take a look at this 4-minute video of people that took this incredible plunge.
I started a store, clothing store in downtown Los Angeles, 3,000 square feet store. I really seriously was saying myself, like, I want to close the store on Shabbos. I don't want to work on Shabbos. But it was difficult to think like this because most of the business you're doing on Shabbos. There was some Shabbos I used to sell $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 on Shabbos. During the week, barely I can sell $100, $150. Now the contract, the lease I have, I was obligated 20 years lease. The owner, he warning me in the beginning, if you ever was thinking to leave this lease, I'm going to run after you to the rest of your life. I'm not going to let you go out from it. So I wrote to the Rebbe, told them, Rebbe, I decide to close my store on Shabbos. I would like to have a blessing. I should not get hurt. I'm getting a letter, and in the envelope I open, I see $18, and then it say, 1. מתחיל מקודם שקיעת החמה וגדול הזכות. 2. להפיץ את התורה מתוך שמחה. 3. לתת צדקה שמה, to give tzedakah at the money what he gave me. The next day I say, I'm going to go to the landlord, and I'm going to give him the lease, and the landlord was not there. I came back to my store. There is a guy walking to my store. He wants to buy the store, he's telling me. So I told him, go to the landlord. He's telling me, I was with the landlord. I say, what the landlord told you? He say, you're holding the lease, אתה מחזיק את החוזה. He took a checkbook and he wrote me a nice check. Just can tell you, with this check I bought a house and I started manufacturing. And I remember going to the Rebbe, and on Sunday I told the Rebbe, I got a miracle with the store. The Rebbe was laughing and he went like this on my mouth, like, don't talk about this.
אנחנו השקענו שלושתנו בביזנס של לסגור בשבת. אנחנו צריכים ברכה והצלחה.
בשביל השבס ויום טוב.
ויום טוב.
שבת
ויום טוב סגור.
Теперь очень нужно соблюдать субботу. Так как это Богу указал, что Асерес Хадибес, когда он дал Торы, он начал с того, что каждый еврей до конца времен должен соблюдать субботу.
I started my practice on Nulatz Avenue, and things looked very bleak. It wasn't going anywhere. I remember having a friend. I happened to have mentioned to him that I was having some problems. This young man suggested that the Rebbe would be able to help me, and I made an appointment with the Rebbe. I started to tell him I wasn't doing well here in Brooklyn, and I was able to find a place in Bayside. I was going to be starting an office there. He says, do you work on Shabbos? And I said, yes, I do. And he says, now you're going to a new place. He says, you're moving Perhaps you ought to think about not working on Shabbos. It became known that Dr. Walensky doesn't work on Saturday. And it was unheard of. Dr. Walensky goes to a shul. I was very successful financially, very successful. Even in the way I lived my life, I felt more satisfied, more at ease, very satisfied with being Jewish.
So there's two more mechanisms, practical directives on how we can experience secrets to financial success using our understanding of the confluence of our spirituality and our physicality. The first we said was mindset. The second one, no fear. The second one said was Shabbos. A third one that the Rebbe gave people was another practical tool, was making time to study Torah. How many of us will study Torah, if I'm bored, if I have nothing else to do, if it's not American Idol that night, right? Think about it. But the Rebbe taught us that the studying of Torah is in itself, it's not just a mitzvah, but it's actually directly related to succeeding in business. And the way that the Rebbe explained this was that as a human being, we have to sweat. We have to struggle for various reasons, which I can't explain right now. We're supposed to struggle. Now you've got a choice. Are you going to struggle on your financial situation? Or are you going to struggle to sweat over a piece of Talmud, a piece of Torah, to try to understand it? If you do that, Torah promises that those who sweat over the study of Torah will experience financial prosperity. This is a blessing that the Torah tells us explicitly. Let's take a look at this idea in the words of the Rebbe, page 19, text number 9. A business person should dedicate a portion of their time each day to study Torah, every day. Although this eats into the time that is usually dedicated to work, not only will the study not detract from the overall success, but to the contrary. Torah study clears and refines the mind to be able to make better business decisions with greater clarity and efficiency. It calms the spirit, leading to greater success in business and a greater, happier life. But here's the real reason. This phenomenon is expressed clearly in the Torah itself. This is the verse I just quoted. If you go in my way and fulfill my commandments, to fulfill my commandments means if you go in my way means if you sweat in the study of Torah, that's how the Talmud explains it, I will provide rain in its optimal time. When we dedicate time for Torah study, we are guaranteed divine blessings for success in a way that is optimal without stress or worry. It's an amazing, amazing idea. Realizing that by choosing to find the time in our day to study Torah, to sweat over the study of Torah, we're actually causing ourselves, not just keeping ourselves busy. What we're doing is that we're eliminating the need for God to make us sweat over our credit card, over our mortgage, over our next loan, over whatever payments that we got to deal with. We're going to exempt our obligation of struggle through Torah study and sweating in Torah study, in Torah, without needing to resort to doing so in business as well. The final point I want to share with you is about charity. Charity as a secret to spiritual success. Why would a person want to give away their hard-earned profits to other people? It hurts. In our tradition, in the Torah, tzedakah, charity, is the greatest conduit to success. The prophet Malachi, the last prophet of Israel, in chapter 3, verse 10 tells us that giving a tithe to charity will make you wealthy. A tithe of your net proceeds. You have to give to charity. The word for tithe in Hebrew is the same word as wealth in Hebrew. Aser bishvil shetitz asher. Give a tithe so that you'll become wealthy. And if you don't believe me, says the prophet, bechanuni na bezot. Please, says God, test me in this matter. Please, says God, test me in this matter. I remember when I was a young kid, 13 years old, I would read the Torah every Shabbos. Prepare the Torah reading, I'd get 100 rand, South African rand, to read the Torah every Shabbos. It's a lot of money for a 13-year-old kid in Johannesburg. And I would always make sure to separate 10 rand aside to give to charity. It hurt, It hurt to give 10 rands, No expenses, I guess, right? So I would give it away, and it was amazing to me. Every time I would give away that tithe. From the age of 13, as soon as I started earning my first rand, I would see the amazing opportunities and the doors that would open to me. Please test me, says God. We're supposed to give 10% of our earnings to charity. Now, how does this work? What's the reason that tithing gives you success? The reason is because when you give a tithe, 10% of your earnings to charity, you're giving 10% of your earnings to God. You're making God your partner. You're making God your partner inside of your business. When you give God his share, it's your call to decide if you want God to be the partner in your business. The more you give, the more partnership you have with God Almighty. And God doesn't bounce a check. Take a look, last text of here, text number 10, page 20. I hope, says the Rebbe, from now on, that you will realize more fully and confidently that God is your partner in the business by virtue of the tzedakah charity stake in it. And of course, says the Rebbe, the larger the share of the tzedakah, the more you give to charity, the larger is the share of your partnership with God. So you can go boldly ahead on a broader front. I hope to hear good news from you. There was a fellow who was looking for a buyer for his house. The Rebbe advised him, I know you give 10% to charity, give closer to 20% to charity. Push yourself to give more than you're comfortable with, and you will see that you'll find a buyer for your home. What's the reason for this? What's the reason? The reason is because when you step outside of your own comfort zones for God, then God mirrors our actions, reciprocity, and God steps out of his comfort zones for us. When we give God more than we're comfortable giving him to charity, then God gives us more than he's comfortable, more than he plans to give to us as well. A quick video presentation, 1 minute.
My business has been very bad, and I hope to God you can give me a brachas of my
You put a tzedakah in your business, and
Yes.
to arrange to have at least 10% given for the net income of the business to tzedakah, to charity.
Thank you, Rebbe.
Yeah, God Almighty bless you. Have good news. That will put in the tzedakah in the business.
Thank you, Rebbe.
You're welcome.
אני דור 11 בישראל. אני פיתחתי נושא חדש שמאוד חשוב לי לשלמות המשפחה ולהצלחה של המשפחה. אני מבקש את ברכתך. ההמצאה היא המצאה מאוד חשובה ויחידה בעולם.
באיזה שטח?
בשטח האלקטרוניקה. אחסון של מידע מחשבים דרך הטלפון. זו ההמצאה היחידה בעולם.
ויהי בהצלחה רבה ובשורות טובות. צריך להבטיח להשם שתיתן בצדקה 10% מהרווח הנקי. זה ברכה והצלחה. הצלחה רבה. $1 למייסטר. Dann bedienst, dann die meiste...
So geben wir die auf dem Cent?
Nein, die Parkette, was meistens dann so sein, nicht die Diek, auf Kopfhörer mit $1 mehr.
Doch mehr wie meiste.
Das ist
Friends, this wasn't a shameless fundraising tactic. The Rebbe wasn't looking to get 10% to some charity because this guy was going into business. The Rebbe was saying to him, listen, you want success? You want to succeed in your invention, in your business, in your problem, in your struggle? Make Hashem your partner. If you make God your partner, then by default, you will succeed. It makes sense now why you would want to give tzedakah. And what's amazing is that you want to give tzedakah even when you can't really afford it. In fact, I'll go one step further and say, you should give tzedakah, especially when you can't really afford it. Because when you can't afford it, okay, you're already doing well. Fine, maybe you don't need God to be a partner. But if you're not doing well, you have $1, give 10 cents. You have $18, give $1.80 or $1.81. and see what happens. Please test me with this matter, says God Almighty. On a practical level, if you can't afford to give a tithe, the Rebbe says, give a portion of the tithe and pledge the rest. Get used to giving a little bit more than you're comfortable with. It's the ultimate exhibition of trust in God. The Rebbe said you should attach it to the wall. You should actually attach your charity box to the wall of your house and of your workplace. Why? To make the building itself associated with God's blessing. Many times when people ask the Rebbe for business advice and blessing, you would tell them to have a charity box at work and to be sure to use it regularly. You would give them $1 to get started. And the benefits of having a charity box in your home or business are to make tzedakah part of the building, encouraging others to do the mitzvah, symbol of a Jewish home or office, and it anchors your true allegiance to God. I'm going to conclude by answering our question at the beginning. How did the Rebbe know? How did the Rebbe know the answers to the mundane, secular questions? You want to ask the Rebbe spiritual questions in Torah? Fine. But how did the Rebbe know about health or money or investments, or if Hurricane Andrew is going to hit Miami or not? If you should go to Israel during the Gulf War, if it's going to be safe, if the Scud missiles will hit or won't hit? How did they ever know this kind of stuff?
Written in the Torah.
Maybe. Take a look at this final video, 3-minute video presentation, an amazing discussion that a woman had to put up.
Rivka Blau is the daughter of Rabbi Mordechai Pinchas Teitz, a prominent rabbinic activist and chief rabbi of Elizabeth, New Jersey. In 1961, she was vice president of Yavne, one of the first Orthodox student organizations on American college campuses.
Our mission statement was that we wanted to promote Jewish learning and Jewish observance on campus, and that we wanted to, I don't remember the exact wording, but that we wanted to enable people who want to know more about their Jewishness to find out, but we knew we had to know more if we were going to be that kind of a presence on campus. It was essentially Jewish learning, Jewish observance, not to feel so alone. And that if people wanted to learn more, we would be available to help them. Those were pretty much that was the essence of the mission statement. And at that time we already had, I think, between 13 and 15 college groups involved. And we also had isolated students in different places. At Rutgers, we had 3 or 4 students. At the University of Pennsylvania, we had some students. Now, at that time, the Lubavitcher Rebbe had a representative who would come to Columbia and who got friendly with the president of Yavne, Joel Levine. And this young man, his last name was Feller, told Joel and me, well, actually, he told Joel first, and then Joel told me, that he wanted to meet with 2 officers of Yavne and to talk to us about how we had gotten started and what we were doing. Our appointment was for 10 o'clock at night, so we came to 770 Eastern Parkway at 10 o'clock at night, and we were asked to come in to see the Rebbe at 12 o'clock. And he asked us many detailed questions about how we had started, how we had found each other, what we were finding on campus, what were the problems, what were the possibilities, what opportunity was there for people who were interested in finding more about their Jewishness, how could we reach them, what do we find worked well, what we found did not work. Very, very to the point questions. At the end he said, well, I've asked you a lot of questions, would you like to ask me some questions? And I had no questions to ask of the Rebbe. I thought that this was a wonderful meeting that we had just now had, and I said, no, thank you. And the fellow who was with me said, well, yes, I've spent a Shabbos or 2 here in Crown Heights, courtesy of this young man that I know from Lubavitch. And I hear all kinds of wonder stories about you. I hear that you know better than the doctor whether there should be surgery or not. You know better than the lawyer which way to proceed with a case. Do you know more medicine than the doctors? Do you know more law than the lawyers? I mean, what kind of thing is this? So the Rebbe smiled, and he said, you know, when a house gets built, the architect draws up a blueprint. He gives the blueprint to the contractor, and then the contractor tells the plumber how to do the plumbing, the mason how to do the masonry, the electrician how to do the electricity, the electrical work. He said it's not that the contractor can do it better than everybody, but he can read the blueprint, and that's why he can give the instructions. So he said, Hashem istakel ba'oraso vara alma, the blueprint of the world is the Torah. So somebody can understand Torah, he can tell other people what they have to do within their own métier.
So, Fred, this is an amazing explanation as to why we turn to the Rebbe for advice, just like you said, Rosalind.
Thank you.
The Torah is the blueprints of the universe, and a man who's able to look into the Torah and to truly understand what it's saying is able to extract the lessons that we are able to infer into all the areas of the universe. There's nothing in the world that's not included in the original blueprint. So this is going to conclude our class here today. I would like to make a few short announcements. Number one is that today we've spoken about money, we've spoken about work. I would highly encourage and welcome your questions and your comments. Please do send me an email to rabbi@jewishgardens.com. I would love to hear from you. If you haven't signed up for this course, please do so with Esty at the front door. She will be where you can get a textbook as well for the remainder of this course. I also would like to say that next week we'll be talking about moving from work to the house, where we'll be learning about secrets to success in the family unit, a goldmine of clarity on family, relationships, and harmony. Let's take a 1-minute summary on what we've learned here today.
Lesson 1. Meaning at work. 1. People consulted with the Rebbe regarding all areas of life in the belief that his advice stemmed from a deep understanding of the Torah. 2. Work is not just a necessary means of obtaining a livelihood to sustain more elevated achievements, but it has inherent value and purpose. God designed the world in a way that we are forced to spend the majority of our time engaged in work because bringing holiness and Torah values into the mundane workplace is the ultimate purpose of creation. 3. The workplace also affords us unique opportunities to inspire others to be better people. And earning money enables us to partner with God by giving charity to others. 4. The Rebbe was critical of retirement, seeing that work is our means of fulfilling our life purpose. 5. Spiritual investment holds the secret to success in all areas of life, including financial. The Rebbe emphasized the importance of faith in God, Shabbat observance, setting aside time for Torah study, and giving charity as keys to financial success.
So I'm grateful for this opportunity to be able to study here tonight with you. I thank you for your time, and I hope that you'll find this lesson thoughtful, thought-provoking, and meaningful. Please send me your comments, send me your questions. I'd love to hear from you. I hope to see you, God willing, next week. Same time, same place for lesson 2 of Advice for Life.